Firstly, during the research stages I used internet searches to gather information about my focus films. I used films web pages to analyse for my textual analysis. This also gave me access to view the film's trailers because they were all embedded onto the web page. This allowed me to analyse and research entire film campaigns as a whole. I used Google image searches to find various textures to use within my images throughout my product. For example, here I used this image as the background for the title, release date, and billing block on my trailer. And I used this image as a texture for my font. The internet allowed me to choose relevant production and distribution institutions. I wouldn't necessarily have easy access to this information if I didn't research it through the internet first. I got some of my audience feedback by posting my product onto internet forums. I also used the internet to download various softwares to aid the construction of my products. For example, I used Snagit, a screen capturing software, to capture sections of the screen, which was useful for the research stage and the evaluation. I used video sharing websites like YouTube throughout the construction, research, planning, and evaluation stages. For example, during the research stage, I had access to my Focus Films trailers, which helped me analyse these products easily. This also allowed me to easily refer back to these products during the construction of my product. When producing my trailer, I got sound effects from YouTube by downloading it through a browser-based converter, which converts YouTube videos into MP3 files, ready to import into Premiere Pro. YouTube was used to upload my trailer and my evaluation videos. New media technologies allowed me to convert files and order them to be made compatible for specific platforms. For example, because I was swapping from Apple Macs to PCs, some files were incompatible with the softwares that I was using. So to convert these files, I used Visual Hub on the Macs and AVS Converter on the PCs to transform them into file types that would work with whatever software I was using. For the construction of my evaluation, I also downloaded a screen video capture software called Camtasia Studio 7 to record what is happening on my screen in real time. This allowed me to record the action on my screen while simultaneously recording audio through a microphone. By using this software, I was able to add certain effects which are shown throughout this evaluation. I used this new media technology to make the evaluation more creative and visually appealing. I used Photoshop for the construction of my website and my poster, as well as some elements on the trailer. For the poster, I imported my image into Photoshop and began editing the image to change its visual qualities. I began by adding a high-pass filter to the image to make the details sharper. I then used a layer mask to separate the subject from the background. This allowed me to edit the background without the layer in the foreground being affected. I desaturated the background layer to give the image a little more atmospheric feeling to connote the horror genre. By doing this, I also emphasized the character in the foreground, as the colors in the background didn't deduct from the subject. This made the image more aesthetically appealing as a whole. I also used the burn tool around the subject's face to make her look tired and run down, to reflect the narrative of the film. The burn tool was also used to darken around the billing block, as I thought it looked hard to read. I used Photoshop to cut 3 pictures into a panoramic view of this location. I also duplicated the layer, changed it to black and white, and used the overlay blending mode. This boosted the shadows within the detail of the image, which emphasized the dark areas in the picture. This made the image darker and significantly brought out the texture of the barn walls. Photoshop was also used to create a false blood splatter effect on the title, release date, and billing block in the trailer. I did this by simply loading a brush that looked like it could create a blood splatter effect and brush small amounts of detail into the images. Not only did I use Photoshop to help with the construction of my products, I also used Photoshop to manipulate images into emphasizing a certain area within the narrative through visual qualities of an image. I used Final Cut to capture my footage from the camcorders. I then used Premiere to begin to cut and edit the footage together. To cut the footage, I switched to the Editing tab and highlighted my chosen clip on the source screen. I then set the clips in and out points to cut the video down into small clips. To do this, I defined the first frame that I wanted to include in the sequence and marked it as the frame's endpoint. I then defined the last frame I wanted to include by marking it as an out point. I then just dragged that clip onto my timer. I also cut these clips by using the razor tool. Instead of having harsh cuts in between my clips, I could soften the cut by going into the video transitions and using a dissolve transition to boost the quality of my trailer. I also used Premiere to control the sound of some shots. As some shots turned out to be louder than others, I could adjust the volume of the audio by switching to the editing workspace, then going into effect controls and just adjusting the volume levels. This also allowed me to fade audio in and out of the clips. To do this, I set a keyframe where I wanted the fade to begin, moved a little along the timeline to where I wanted the fade to end, and just adjusting the decibel level. I could then go back to this and adjust it later during the editing process by changing the gradient between the keyframes. Premiere was also used to create my evaluation. Here, new media technologies enabled me to effectively edit together my evaluation video and the trailer. I only used After Effects in the evaluation stage of this product to create the titles of the questions. To do this, I downloaded and installed various plugins into After Effects CS4, which gave me a wide range of effects to work with. For example, for this sequence, I went into this tutorial site, downloaded the project files, and imported it into After Effects. I highlighted the text composition and changed the text here to make it relevant to the evaluation, and simply exported the sequence as a Premiere file where I could add that composition to my timeline. Here I used new media technologies to make my evaluation more creative.